Alright guys, we're back again. This is the MS460. We had a problem with the clutch, so we decided to get a new one. You can see this thing has been used fairly well. Thing about clutches is you know if you have a bad clutch if you're running a chainsaw and the belts or the chain is always going, and if you idle it down, I think the MS460 idles at 2900 RPMs, and then the clutch engages at 3500 RPMs if I'm not mistaken. So let me get here is the clutch that was in it, and this is not a steel clutch, this is a Chinese clutch. But it still has some grip at the top, but you can see where it was wearing down the center. And when I pulled the clutch off, it said, man, this thing still looks good. The springs still look good, but this one's a little, but what was happening was the chain was always going, and I idled. You can mess around with the idle screw and the low screw and idle it down to just to where it doesn't die. And it's still, the chain is going as fast as it can go. That's going to be a problem with your clutch. But you can see this clutch right here. It looks okay. There's some, it looks okay. But this is the Chinese version. And when I pulled the sprocket off, this is the steel sprocket. You can see the damage. It's actually got a whole ridge in there to where this was rubbing. So what would cause this? Dirt, debris, things like that. But when the clutch is always running the chain, even at the lowest of low idle, what is happening is I'll show this right here. This thing is spinning the whole time, right? The spindle is spinning the whole time. It's spinning the oil and the clutch, and the clutch is actually rotating in this sprocket, but it's just moving like this. It's moving on that spindle, and it's just moving and moving. But then once you get to 3500 RPMs, you put a little squeeze the trigger. These brakes, or I'm sorry, these shoes come out and touch this sprocket and make the sprocket move, and then the sprocket, of course, moves the chain. And so if you have weak springs, they're moving at less than 3500 RPMs. They're moving at idle speed, and they're touching the sprocket and moving the sprocket and engaging the sprocket. And you're going to have the chain running at all times, and that's what was running here. That's why you have the groove and the wear and tear. I'm going to have to get a new sprocket as well, because that is deep. I can put my whole finger in there, right there. And it was running the sprocket the whole time. So I went ahead and ordered another sprocket, and it came with this plate right here that goes in like this. And now this, I didn't mess around this time. I went ahead and got a steel. There you see the S's there. A steel product. I don't want to mess around with the Chinese product anymore. And the gaps are good. And we just hope that the springs are as good as well. We'll find that out. So here we go. Yeah, that's good. So this, hopefully, the springs will only come out at 3500 RPMs. And so a lot of times you'll have this oiler as well. The oiler right there, this end piece will break off. You'll have it, and it'll be bad. But for us, is this the new one right here? Yeah, this is, look at that. We're going to be putting this back together. Pushing this down. This says top. And this goes in a clockwise. You take it off with a you take it off with the clockwise, put it on with the counterclockwise, and now you have a new clutch that will fit in the sprocket. We'll see if it engages later on. Like I said, I've done several videos with this MS460, and I'll be running it to show the repairs I've done on it and that they actually worked. And of course this will get the bearing as well. And speaking of the bearing, let me go ahead and tell how that works as well. So when the spindle is running, the sprocket is riding on this spindle. So that's why the sprocket isn't turning when the spindle is turning. So it's running on these bearings. So the sprocket isn't running until it gets to the 3500. Then the clutch engages. Then your sprocket is running even with the bearing. So that's the purpose of that, what some people call the needle cage. This is a brand new one, so I'm not messing around. This is going to be working here. So that's what to look for if your chainsaw the chain is running at all times, even if you have it idle down. It's going to be the clutch, and it's an easy repair. That is all. Hope this helps some people out in fixing their chainsaw.